Candace Laing is the President and Chief Executive of the Canadian Chamber of Commerce. Candace joins me now. I'll ascribe to you, forgive the assumption, but your heart must have sunk last night when Donald Trump broke off trade talks, because it's the capricious nature based on an ad that, frankly, everybody's been using for the last goodness knows how many months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, any breakdown in the talks and potentially relationship is concerning, but I think from the business community's perspective, Richard, we're not sounding alarm bells. Staying pretty calm, knowing there's going to be lots of ebbs and flows, and no easy path to a quick agreement when it comes to the Canada-U.S. Relationship. And I think that's really interesting, because some people might think, because we're so close, right, why doesn't Canada already have an agreement, right? I mean, that's a very fair question, but our relationship is so complex because of the work done over decades and decades to deeply integrate our economies, to intertwine our supply chains. So our negotiations are like 3D chess. Everything's super complex and very dynamic.
So the reality is, as the Prime Minister said, the need to find new markets and expand non-US trade and exports. Your members, is that now their priority? Because yes, you can hope for the best and you can hope to wait out the Trump administration, but you've learned a brutal lesson here.
Yes, or the ultimate wake-up call, as we call it, and to just be very transparent, that's what it is for Canada. Because, Richard, Canada should have been diversifying its markets all along, because I'll say it this way, right now, we don't want to confuse people, but it's a yes and scenario. Absolutely, we're going to fight as hard as we can to maintain the beneficial relationship we have in trade with the U.S. They're our biggest, best customer. But in business, you don't just want to have one customer. You should have other customers. And so we should have been doing more of this along the way. And while we can maintain and hopefully still grow our trade relationship with the U.S., we should be focusing on growing and diversifying with other markets as well. But I'll add one thing. Right now, today, given the uncertainty, that means we do have some businesses, especially, smaller and mid-sized businesses that can't sustain the uncertainty. So they are looking at diversifying just out of the U.S. market because of the costs and uncertainty.
This is a generalized question, maybe too generalized. Mm-hmm. Do you think the business community on the whole is still supporting the Prime Minister in the way he is managing this negotiation? Agreed, he comes in, he seems to be able to do it extremely well. There have been 2 or 3 very nasty spats in the middle, but arguably nothing that Mark Carney could have controlled.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, and it is the question. And I think from the business community's perspective, we're working in partnership and giving our negotiators, and especially our chief negotiator, the space they need to have these complex discussions. So at this point, I think, the business community would agree. Our Prime Minister is being tough and firm, while doing what's really important, and we know this, is maintaining a good relationship. And that is important. And we're in the situation we are now because, trying to be communicating with Americans, and I think that was the intent behind the commercial, is just trying to communicate. The intention is good. At the end of the day, we're going to fight as hard as we can to maintain the relationship, which we know and would agree with Reagan that tariffs are just going to hurt us both, and they hurt American consumers and businesses.
Right. Thank you for joining us. We'll talk more. As I think you and I will be having regular conversations in the days and weeks ahead, as indeed we have up until now. And we're always very grateful, ma'am, when you come and talk to us and give us the Canadian perspective. Thank you very much indeed.
Anytime, Richard. Thanks for having me.